Okay. Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Our public comment session is ended, so we will officially call this meeting to order, excuse me, at 6:49. And to start, then I need a motion to approve the agenda as has been publicized through board docs. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Damon. A second? Marty? Thank you. Any changes or no? Seeing, hearing none, ask for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? No, Judy, I gotta make sure I lean forward. See you there. Thanks. So 7-0. Approved. Then we'll move on to the first love commendations. And so we have a commendation tonight, Dollars for Scholars Award winner, and presented by Miss Angie Kettle of Dollars for Scholars. Board member, please come up to the podium. You may have to press the button until a blue light comes on, just for the microphone to work.
I think it's on. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you to the school board for allowing us to come in tonight, Dollars for Scholars. My name is Angie Cattell, and I'm the current president of the Fairport Barrington chapter of Dollars for Scholars. I'm honored to present the Donna Yaman Honor Award to the Yaman family tonight. Donna Yaman lived in the village of Fairport for 54 years, where she and her husband Phil raised their family. Donna was invited to join the Dollars for Scholars board in 1994 and immediately took an interest in redefining the scholarship selection process. She was elected chapter president 2 years later. Under her presidency, the first phone-a-thon was created. After presidency, Donna continued to provide leadership for the phone-a-thon for several years. But for the rest of her time on the board, she focused primarily on scholarship committee, serving as the chair and co-chair from the late 1990s until her death in June of 2019. During those years, the annual award ceremony grew from a very small gathering of recipients, parents, and sponsors in the Fairport High School cafeteria to working in conjunction with the high school administrators to coordinate the awards programs of both Dollars for Scholars and the Fairport High School on the same evening in the school auditorium. During those years also, Dollars for Scholars outreach to community and school organizations and team boosters resulted in more and more administered scholarships, which increased the number of Fairport students who receive financial recognition for their achievements. The 6 1,000 chapter scholarship recipients in 1990 blossomed to 72 recipients in 2019, receiving a total of $63,180. 17 of those 72 recipients were awarded a total of $17,000 in scholarships, all completely funded by chapter fundraising initiatives. Prior to the Dollars for Scholars application going online, Donna spent hours at the high school sorting the applications to be read and distributing to the selection committee. Donna served during February and March on the majority of the selection committees over 25 years. After the chapter was required to process all applications online, Donna transitioned seamlessly to the new protocol, even though it was a challenge. Throughout all these years, Donna established meaningful and comfortable relationships with scholarship sponsors. She worked with them to tailor their needs to fit within the framework of the scholarships the organizations offered. Donna lived a life rooted in family values, giving back to the community, creating opportunities for young people, and creating higher quality of life in Fairport. She was genuinely loved, admired, and respected by all those whose paths she crossed. Since the Fairport Barrington chapter was founded, the Dollars for Scholars Honor Award has been presented to all those who have supported the Dollars for Scholars mission in special ways. In 2020, the Dollars for Scholars Board of Directors chose to rename this award to the Donna Yaman Honor Award to honor and memorialize Donna's dedication and many significant contributions to the chapter during her 25 years of service. So it's my pleasure to award this award, the first time award for the Donna Yaman Honor Award, to her family tonight, her husband Phil, and one of her 3 sons, Phil. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, board, for giving us this time. And also, some of you have been involved with Dollars for Scholars. And just as an aside, I want to thank you very much. I think there's something wonderfully hidden in this message. You know, what Donna did for Dollars for Scholars was to really appeal to family members, particularly students, who had died way too young, and to make something immortal out of that tragedy in their lives, be it, there's just so many names and numbers I'm sure that you know, but certainly all those girls that were killed here many years ago is the largest, I think, probably of the scholarships. So once again, with this honor to Donna, it's again making something positive out of something that's negative of her loss to this community and certainly loss to our family. And you know, if you talked with Donna, she would say her absolutely best skill was that she was a planner. So I joked with Phil the other night and I said, you know, we're having this award on the 17th of November. Now, Donna and I always celebrated our monthly anniversary. We were married on her birthday on the 17th of October, 1964. So somehow or another, this event is taking place on the 17th, and I wouldn't begin to speculate on her planning ability. Thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations. Wonderful program. I admit, I'm always astounded at the numbers every year, the dollars awarded. So thank you for that. We have with us our student advisor, Jackson Dietz. Invite you down to the podium.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. So first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to our district's elementary schools and their hard work raising money for Golisano Children's Hospital, and to Minerva DeLand and our Fairport High School FIDM and Business Club for their work raising, on a food drive to benefit the Center for Youth and the Parenton Food Shelf. So we have several other giving back events coming up, including the FIDM coat drive, the Fairport High School gratitude chain and photo op, and the Martha Brown gratitude walk. So a lot of great things to look forward to in the month of gratitude and giving. So on the topic of COVID-19 testing at school, which started this week, students at Fairport High School generally told me that they felt more comfortable being tested for peace of mind, if anything else. So I personally think that this is a good reminder to everyone to continue wearing a mask, washing your hands, and maintaining a safe physical distance in and out of school. So though we are still unsure about the impact COVID-19 may have on the rest of the school year moving forward, and even as we speak, we know that the safety protocols are working for students and staff, and that students and staff are doing a wonderful job looking out for one another. So in the weeks moving forward, we have several important events on the calendar, including the Fairport High School virtual play, 12 Angry Jurors, and the Martha Brown virtual musical. So I know I was brief, but thank you for having me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that are from the coming from the board. Not really. I'm not a part of that, but I know that they have. It was originally intended to be in person, and I know that they did a great job transitioning it to a virtual capacity. So I think that was good. Yes. Yep. Same thing with the Martha Brown musical.
Are you familiar by chance? Have you heard about the results of the first 2 days of testing? And
I'm not 100% familiar. I have been looking at the COVID tracker on the state website, but I was tested. My brother was tested. That all went fine, and it was very efficient. It was very quick. It was about 3 minutes. I went in, and then I was back in my second period class.
being that you're here, we assume it was a negative result.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's been very positive. I don't want to steal Mr. Provenzano's thunder for later, right? Yeah.
No, speak.
855 tests and 3 positives, so 0.35%, right? The community around us, the county at large, is about 4.7, so significantly lower in terms of, you mentioned peace of mind for the students. I hope that gives them that indeed, that the protocols are working.
Yep.
And schools are safe places. I did hear on NPR on the way in, even after work today, Dr. Mendoza mentioned that himself, right? That the testing's showing that schools are very safe places for our students and staff.
Definitely.
Well,
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jackson.
From president's report, I never know if I really give a report or whatever, but we are just over a week to Thanksgiving, right? About 9 days. So not wanting to ever make things trite, concerned about that. I know we tried to express a lot of gratitude. I do want to do it anyway, to thank all of our staff. There's not any group. And so I like to mention them out of fear that, yes, I might leave a group out. I sure hope not, but know that involve everyone, right? Thank our administrators. Thank you to our teachers, to our paras, to our clerical personnel, to our building and grounds, to transportation, to our technology folks, to everyone working in the schools. We hear, right, that there's a lot of stress going on for our staff, and we take it seriously, right? We are aware, and that increases our gratitude in some ways, that day in and day out, you find the opportunity, the strength to continue on. We know it's mentally taxing, emotionally taxing, and physically taxing as well. And I don't know that that's much consolation. We will continue to listen, to learn, and see if ways that it's possible to make adjustments as possible, looking for all ideas and ways to be able to continue forward. And all hoping, of course, that they are successful with the vaccine to make this as short as possible. I say thank you to you all. I do not want to leave out the parents, the guardians, the caretakers either. We know that you've had to be flexible. You've had to step up and strengthen the partnerships that we have. We feel partners with you, right, in responsibility to educate the children. And we know that that has been stressful, and people have had to make many accommodations to work schedules and other types of changes for caregiving. And that's been tough. And so we thank you at this time as well. And to our students, thank you. The reports back from the administrators who come to us in terms of we were not quite sure how all this was going to be received, the masking, the social distancing, but they say that our students have been incredible partners and participants. And I think we're seeing the results of that today, mentioned already, with the testing that is going on and seeing how low the results are of the testing here. And so thank you to all of that. Along those lines, to bring one more person into this specific is, we've seen a lot of critical comments. As elected officials, I don't think we can ever avoid that. Critical comments were part of what we sign up for, whether we realize we're signing up for that or not. But so I've seen a lot of critical comments directed toward the person sitting to my left, Mr. Provenzano, that I think are clearly misplaced. People may not understand the education world, but hired and evaluated on an annual basis by us, the elected officials, right? Those critical comments more squarely belong on our shoulders somewhat. Mr. Provenzano has been an excellent representative of the school board, always advocating for what he thinks is best for the schools. And when our two visions don't necessarily line up and a decision is made, he does not go out and publicly say, well, I don't agree with this, but I have to do that, or make any type of couching. He represents very well the decision and goes forward with it at full strength. And so we appreciate that. But I think people should know, right, that that's the criticism perhaps belongs more on the school board's shoulders. Just as a mention, then during the public comment period, which is always how we start our meeting before the official part of the meeting, we did have two people sign up. One statement was read and one person joined us by Zoom. One talking about concern with the change of drop-off times, and the other concerned with getting back to full-time schooling for all of our students in the schools. And I mentioned that only briefly because from time to time over the course of the years, there's been questions about why that wasn't streamed. That has been a practice from before I think I came on the board, and wasn't necessarily entirely in agreement at that time, but over the years have seen the wisdom in it and why we continue doing that, to not necessarily stream it, but we still welcome the comments. People are welcome if it's allowed in person, to be here in person. Tonight, we had a person do it over Zoom and another submit the comments, and they were read aloud. Regardless, overall, I'll end where as I started. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I know it's going to be unique for so many people. I have never in my experience had Thanksgiving just with my wife and children, but that will be the case this year. Never in my, my life have I had that. And so it's taken some different type of planning, but regardless, we have sat down as a family and said, we have a lot to be thankful for despite that. And challenging times helps brings out much that is good in people. It helps us learn where we can make changes for the positive or keep that which is positive coming and keep it moving forward. So I wish everyone a happy, unique Thanksgiving. May it be a good, restful time, especially for our staff and students and parents, relaxing and rejuvenating. And that takes us pretty much to the end of November, and we will start the month of December after Thanksgiving. So thank you. With that, Mr. Provenzano, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Forsgren. Appreciate your sentiments and what are we trying to get to this here? It's in the way there. Is there a way that you could see that? Is there a way to move that? Go for it. Right. Oh, look at that. See, Luke, I am grateful for you. We all are, for sure. It is the season of Thanksgiving, and as Peter Forsgren just shared, I have some thoughts. It's been a different 8 months filled with uncertainty on multiple levels, whether it be economically, social, emotionally, or physically. Our school community has been impacted by COVID-19. The storylines of this historical time have been layered throughout and will live in our history books moving forward. Amid all the ebbs and flows, the word and concept of Thanksgiving has been at the forefront of my mind. I have been reflecting upon the things for which I am grateful for in our school district during the season of thanks. In this season of thanks, I am overflowing with gratitude and am grateful for our Board of Education for recognizing and empowering the soul of our community. It is a privilege to serve this board's compelling vision for our students and school community. So many things happen here in our school district that we just take for granted. But if it wasn't for the care and nurturing of our Board of Education and tapping into what this community has to offer, we would never be able to realize it. Thank you. To our support staff, this includes our nurses, the technology team, food service, paraprofessionals, transportation, buildings and ground, and our administrative assistants. This group shows up and is the backbone, always willing to contribute and add value from wherever they serve in our organization with no questions asked. They get it done and they make us all look good. Our administrators, their steadfast and consistent leadership and investment and care for our schools is truly admirable. They are working when nobody else is for the betterment of our schools and for the support of our students. They embody servant leadership. Our professional educators, their courage to do what's never been done before in the history of teaching and learning is truly heroic and worthy of recognition. We admire and appreciate their tireless efforts and resolve and spirit to support our students in new ways, and they're doing it in new and different ways. They're connecting with our students, finding ways to connect with our students in new and different ways. We are grateful. And of course, our parents or guardians or caretakers, their unwavering investment, partnership, and of course, flexibility and trust in our schools is no doubt a critical attribute of our successes here in Fairport. And it's also instrumental to the success as we started the new year. Their response is always resounding and never taken for granted. Students, Mr. Forsgren said it perfectly. You are the reason why we are experiencing success during the COVID era. For being the lifeblood of our organization and the wind beneath our wings. We learn from you as much, if not more, than you learn from us. We are grateful for our students. Ultimately, I'm thankful for our school community. I'm thankful for how we keep showing up for each other and how we are learning our way through this time together. This era will pass, and for it, we'll be stronger and more united as a Fairport community. Thank you for allowing me to share some thoughts of Thanksgiving. I do have some thoughts about what's happening throughout our district. As Jackson said, and he definitely said it more poetically and more concisely than I have or ever will be able to, but we're doing some great things as a community still. We're still moving forward. We're showing our students that there are ways to contribute in the middle of a pandemic. There are opportunities to lean on and support each other, as evidenced by the Golisano Children's Hospital. All of our elementary schools for the first time did it this year, raising close to $10,000. We see food drives at Minerva DeLand to support the Center for Youth and Parenting Food Shelf. Fairport High School had a coat drive, and Martha Brown annual leaf raking for veterans are just highlights of the things that we're doing during this time to keep students connected to a greater purpose. Here are some statistics. I think it's important to recognize in 4,100 responses as of this morning, 92% of those were consents for our COVID testing, student and staff testing program. 92% or 3,700 families gave consent. 8% or 314 did not give consent. And the ones that have not responded, we would also categorize them as probably not giving consent as well. But those are the numbers that we have. The survey results and the response was quite impressive. Our positivity rate is 0.35. And I think it's important to recognize and read verbatim this memo that recently came out. Effective this week, schools in the yellow zones must test 20% of in-person students, faculty, and staff over a 2-week period of time, which we are doing right now. If the results of the testing revealed that the positivity rate among the 20% of those tested is lower than the yellow zone's current 7-day rate, testing at school will no longer be required to continue. A positivity rate in school that is lower than the in-zone is a sufficient demonstration that in-person instruction is not a significant driver of local viral spread. This is directly from Dr. Mendoza. I think it's just important to recognize that everybody's stepping up, everybody's working to achieve these ends, and I'm confident by the end of this week, we should be in this category, and we'll stand by with testing. It won't be a weekly endeavor as we thought it would be, and hopefully as we continue to get our results, we will be able to move forward without the burden of testing as we have been doing this past week, doing it wonderfully, I might add. We are just starting budget season. Here are our goals. We're going to be spending the next several months, several weeks, moving through the budget calendar. I'm not going to go through it line by line, but you'll see that there are plenty of opportunities for all the different stakeholders to get involved. We still need to figure out what we're going to be doing with getting feedback from our community and from our staff, but I know that we'll put those dates on the docket in the very near future. But budget just does not happen. We are waiting to get sales tax revenue information. We're waiting to see what's happening with our aid flows right now. We don't anticipate any delays, but we're in a wait and see period, and we're following this timeline. And I'm sure it will be a topic of conversation as we move along. Many of us are doing the racial equity challenge. It's amazing. Over 400 different organizations, over 100,000 community members are engaged in this equity challenge. That just goes to show you that this is just not something that's going to move on, or it's going to be here today, gone tomorrow. There is an incredible investment from our community, and the ideas of being an ally and really investing and taking action to be a partner on this imperative for understanding and engaging our brothers and sisters who are Black and brown. And these ideas of listening, being aware, understanding the context of which we live, understanding the context of which they have lived, understanding the concept and the realities of privilege, using your position and privilege to support those who have been oppressed, being comfortable being uncomfortable, and action for allyship. Again, that word is the operative word, action. And I'm really proud of the efforts that we're making as an organization. We're going to continue to talk. We're going to continue to learn. We're going to continue to engage the community throughout to learn and listen and grow together so we could be better for our children. Thank you all. And as I started, I will end with a happy Thanksgiving. May it be filled with lots of stuffing and mashed potatoes and all those other nice fixins.
And do a mea culpa, right? You pointed out a group I forgot. I'm not sure how I forgot them. Our nurses. Thank you to our nurses, right? You mentioned them in yours, and I did not mean to leave out any group. How can I leave them out? 858 tests, according to Jackson, is about 3 minutes each. I put that at 46 hours of testing in 2 days, right? More or less, with maybe 14 extra minutes beyond that. So thank you to nurses, and grateful for the good results in the schools.
Hey, Peter,
Yes.
just before we jump too far into the agenda, if I could just say one thing.
Yeah.
And that's just to recognize the people that spoke earlier, the public comment, and the formality of our agenda doesn't allow us to really have dialogue with people during this meeting. That's just the way things are run during the business meeting. But I just want to reinforce the fact that we did listen and we did hear, and we do recognize the concern, and we do share those concerns. I mean, I think ultimately we as a board and Brett and his administration, we all want our kids back in schools. We all want normal to return. We're just, we're following the guidelines that were established in the state, and we only have certain abilities to push back against that by law, or we can be removed. So I think we all want the same things. We want this to be done safely, and we want it to be done lawfully, and we're just doing the best we can. But I do think it's important to recognize that we did hear the comments that were made earlier.
Right, and our discussion, more the interaction you mentioned, is where we do in our workshops, right? Not here at the business meeting. But
Yeah, and I just want, I mean, I'm just reflecting on the discussions we've had over the last 7 or 8 months, and things that we've taken for granted over the years. We've talked about everything, right? And a lot of times, quite honestly, we haven't agreed initially, and we've had discussion, respectful discussion and dialogue and debate, and we really come out united with a better understanding because of the different views and lenses that we all have. But I think we have had some pretty meaty conversations, and that's not to say that just the board. I mean, there's been an immense amount of work and consideration done by everybody in the district. So it's just nothing's, nobody went to school on how to run a public education system during a pandemic, right? That's not something that we were trained for. We're doing the best we can, and, we're moving forward.
yes, thank you. That will take us to our treasure and investment update then by our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mr. Matt Stevens.
Hey, good evening and thank you. The treasure and investment update we have for this month is through September 2020. For the beginning cash balance for the general fund, we had $42.4 million. Receipts for the month of $12.9 million. Disbursements of $10.9 million for an ending cash balance of $44.4 million. Of the 44.4, approximately 31.6 is invested in a mix of insured cash sweep and CDARS accounts, or about 71% of the total cash balance. Just to give a year-to-date synopsis in terms of expenses for 2021 compared to revenues, we're at about $18.7 million of actual expenses in the current fiscal year, and $13.1 million of actual cash revenue that's come in. One of the reasons why our fund balance, assigned fund balance, unassigned fund balance is so important and helps us get through the timing of when our cash actually comes in for current fiscal year. Thank you.
Matt, from a financial perspective, has there been any deviation during this past 6 months that's been different than a normal year? Has it been pretty normal?
It has been pretty normal, believe it or not. Looking at last year through September, we were probably about $500,000 difference in actual expenses. So it's pretty close, holding true to where we are. Revenue side, timing of some of the tax money's coming from the town, but minimal, only about 4 million, and that'll just cross slightly into October. So it's not massive. Thank you.
And although part of the consent calendar, we don't discuss, I'm going to mention it beforehand, so I hopefully not breaking any rules, right? Because we're going to approve the acceptance of the school tax summary for 2020. Just looking at it and mentioned it to to Mr. Stevens the other day and when in the office is, as you know, we collect our town collects certain amount of taxes for us, and whatever they don't collect is turned over to the county, and then they make us whole sometime around April. What was turned over this year was about $1.2 million less than last year. So it was actually quite favorable, which I thought it would be different. I thought maybe we would have collected less cash at this point, and we collected more. So cash position wise, that was kind of helpful that more came in by the due date than we had to turn over. So anyway, that's in there. I was just open it up to last year's as well to compare what it was, and that showed the difference. But that does take us to the consent calendar, and need a motion to approve or a motion to amend if anybody wants to talk about any of these items separately and not break rules like certain presidents do. Any motions? Tim, second? Joyce, thank you, Joyce. Then all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, 7-0. And then a
Any
donation.
Comment real quick, Peter,
Sure,
on that. I mean, just a generous donation from the Dudley Elementary PTA. So
that's what
just-
we're about to accept, and yes, but go ahead, mention it.
it's
Nope.
a very generous donation.
It's
from
incredible,
the
isn't it?
Dudley PTA, and just I think we have to express appreciation for that.
And well, let's get the motion
Okay.
and then add, because I'd like
Yep.
to have a little more explanation of what it is exactly they donate. I think it's pretty cool. But so get a motion to approve. I'll take that, Damon, from you. Is that?
Sure. Yeah.
And a second, Judy. And so who's best positioned to talk about what these bikes are, all these kids' bikes?
We'll have Mr. Stevens.
Okay,
Yep. So this is a donation, again, very generous donation from Dudley PTA. And these are for bikes known as, balance bikes. So they are bikes that are able to graduate up through actually putting pedals on them. First they start with balance and going through, they can graduate up to have pedals put on. So it's a really, generous donation to help with our younger population of students to learn to ride bikes.
I think it's awesome. I'm sorry, I'm a numbers guy. Right, just tonight so far, between this donation and what the fundraising that's been done, I put us somewhere close to, about $80,000. When you talk about Dollars for Scholars and the Golisano Hospital, and now this donation from the PTA, that doesn't count the food drives, nor, I'm just always astounded as we get reports month after month of what our students do and what the clubs do and everything. And this is just another one. So thank you to the PTA. All in favor of accepting this donation? Oh, sir.
In the times that we're in, because we know that there are a lot of our community members whose financial situations are much different than they were a year ago. And for some people, it's still, they are relying on those food banks every day, every week. So this just says a lot about our community, that even when we're in tough times, we still help out all the rest of each other. So I just like to make sure that people, really understand the depth and the breadth of this.
Right. Thank you. All in favor, or are there other comments? Sorry. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That's good. Okay, 7-0. To our personnel actions, 6A instructional, need a motion to approve the following instructional staff actions listed in the agenda. Marty, Erica, second. We have questions or comments about this?
Just
There
like,
appears to be a lot of substitute teacher resignations. Is that just cleaning up the books, or? Okay.
Yeah, Damon, that's exactly what it is. We have been spending some time going through and looking at all the subs that have been on our list, but not active or accepting of jobs in years. So it's really just cleanup. So it's not a mass exodus at the moment. Great question.
Well, just while we're on the substitute teacher topic, can I ask, how we're doing? I know there's a limited supply within the county. Are we doing okay?
Same as the rest of the county, we're still short. Yeah. So
It's-
depending on the day, we have challenges.
it's a struggle. You'll get calls, and you're seeing a lot of teamwork. You're seeing, like, we don't need certain subs for the day, and, a lot of sharing, which is always good, but you can never have enough subs. They play an important role.
Any comments or questions, others? Marty?
Just congratulations on Melanie Easter's retirement. I had the pleasure of working with her for a number of years and wish her well.
Thank you for noting that. Yes. Others? All in favor? Any opposed? No, 7-0. 6B athletics, same, I need a motion to approve. Tim, second. Marty? Questions or comments about the list? Winter coaches, we did receive dates today when they get to start and which have to be delayed, but all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing seen none, 7-0. Non-instructional service, civil service. I'll make a motion to approve. I need a second. Marty? Any questions or comments?
I think you'll notice that there are a number of retirements that you brought this to my attention, Peter, during the agenda setting in the transportation center and a cleaner as well at Fairport High School. We really appreciate all the contributions.
I would also like to know that in this approval, to do that is the part-time director of safety and security for the district. Sorry about that. That we are also going to be approving our part-time director of coordinator of safety and health for the district, Mr. Monahan. So we will be able to get some more continuity in that department as we move forward. So we welcome him in that role.
Thank you. That's right. It's a new position approved in the budget last year, or last May. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 7-0. Then we have a memorandum of agreement related to library media specialist lead teacher. Motion to approve. Marty, second. Joyce? Questions or comments about the MOA? No, see none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. And then 6E memorandum agreement for ENL lead teacher. Motion to approve. Marty, second. Erica? And questions or comments about this one?
These are both district-wide responsibilities.
Correct. They are district-wide responsibilities to support the facilitation of programming.
Other questions? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? 7-0. Okay, board discussion action items. We have a second read on 4 policies that are listed. Need a motion to approve the second reading. Erica, motion, second. Anyone?
Second.
Tim, thank you. Questions, comments?
Spent a lot of time on these. A lot of discussion back and forth and over and under, and spent a
Yeah.
lot of time.
Yeah, and we did a first reading last month, so
Yeah.
this will finalize it then. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0.
Thank you to the policy committee for
Yeah.
the time.
You're
Great job.
welcome.
Thank you, Damon. Yep. We have an incomplete team application and intramural municipal agreement. These are together. Motion to approve the incomplete team application and agreement. Marty and Erica, thank you. Questions or comments about the incomplete team?
If you could just give a brief synopsis of what this is, just so people who are listening might not understand an incomplete team, what that all entails.
It's for student athletes in other districts. They collaborate with our teams. It doesn't take away or impact opportunities for our students, but it's a sharing of our resources and actually our not our resources, but our program with students so they can compete.
So these are for students in other districts who don't have the teams.
They don't have enough
Right.
enough to field the team.
To field a
And
team.
it's a common practice for districts to
How did this come together? I mean, how did
these are agreements that occur throughout the county.
they just reach out to Fritz?
Yeah,
Gillian?
they reach out and, who has availability or room to support. And a lot of these have just been standing commitments through time.
Okay. And then-
It gives students in other districts the opportunity to participate.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Does the other district provide transportation for their?
Yeah, there's absolutely no cost to our district.
I assume that if those students from another district win a state championship, we get to keep.
We get to,
trophy.
we get to patch. It's on my record,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
My dossier, no.
No, somehow that's not part of the agreement. Can we write that in? No, but it is a good
Yeah, good
thing to do,
Yeah,
right?
it's very good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing seen none, 7-0. 7C, Reserve Fund Planning. I'll make a motion to approve the Reserve Fund Plan as attached. Did need a second?
Second.
Tim, second. This is
Yes,
vetted
this-
through the Audit and Finance Committee,
Yep.
right? And
This looks pretty, this looks just like an outline of the reserve funds that we have established. Does it just reiterate the guidelines around the investment purpose and charter of each? So it's just documenting, re-documenting what we already have in place.
yes,
And certain reserve funds only have a limited number
Yeah.
of years. They've got a shelf life.
Yep, and they can only be used for certain purposes.
Right, and they have to be used in
Voter-
a certain
voter
time period.
approved,
Correct.
withdrawal and everything.
and you will see in places where we have put a floor that we want to try and maintain. It doesn't mean we will necessarily, as sometimes through pandemics or whatever situation, we may go below it, but that means we want to try and push ourselves back up to that level or not. Right now, we're above floors on all of them. A lot of that's purposeful, but we're not sure where the future holds at this point, right? Other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, 7-0. Extra classroom activity. Love these things when they come in. So motion to approve a middle school social justice club at Martha Brown.
Moved.
Tim, second. Marty, give me a second to look both directions. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, 7-0. And then another club or a jazz club at the Martha Brown Middle School, motion to approve. Okay, everybody on this side. So Erica first and Joyce second. Questions or comments? I think we have the jazz lovers over here. But all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. And just been talked about in public meetings, but not necessarily for a business meeting, a discussion around valedictorian, salutatorian. We've had some, but I think there's been 3. Well, you want to take this, Mr. Provenzano? There's been, given to us 3 different things have been researched, discussed with administrators, whatnot, and looking at where we want to take this.
Well, thank you. We've had conversations, I believe, multiple different times throughout the year. We understand that this is something that the board has looked at previous years. I think the last time it was done was probably about 2 years ago. We studied the valedictorian, salutatorian concept. We realized that throughout the county, that most districts have started to get away from this and have started to recognize and honor their graduates in different ways. Saying that, we are in a position to where the options would be discontinuing the veil sale for this school year and coming up with an alternative plan for next year or for the speakers for this year and moving forward together. Another option would be continuing the veil sale for this year, and this would be the last year, and then commencing in the summer with a group of different stakeholders to process how we can move forward and recognize students. And we would give those who were going to receive these honors this year, and they would be the final recipients. And then next year for the class of 22, we would then have a new process. So those were the options that we were discussing.
All right, thanks for the summary. I had missed myself the workshop around it, but I had plenty of notes. Thank you all for sharing those. In terms of those options, I don't know that if I think we could make a decision, but I'm not sure we're looking for one, just bringing this more public right at this time. Does anybody want to add to that or put more color around it? Marty, you moved to the microphone.
I can.
Oh, there,
I
oh,
have a
sorry,
really
thank you.
long
Sorry,
microphone
Judy.
Today, so I think you can hear me. It seems like this year, I have concerns about it at Val Sale as a tradition, just because I think it gives children the sense that they have to do everything perfectly in order to be recognized. They have to, instead of giving them the flexibility to figure out what they're passionate about, it really focuses on achievement in every class. But that's kind of secondary, because for this year, my real concern is that resources affect how well kids do, because kids are all in different situations. Some are just virtual, some are hybrid, and we can't compare apples to oranges. It's not fair. So I think that's one of the reasons that we're talking about this for now, and why this would be a good time to say this isn't actually what we want to encourage the children to focus on.
And also to go to add to that, Judy, which is part of our discussion, from March 16th to the end of the school year, that was a totally different way of learning for everybody that they were dumped into. So the last 15 weeks of last school year was all upset, and it was just a total disarray in the fact that it was new and it was almost instant where we had to make this change, and we had to alter the whole way in which we were assessing students and the whole way students were learning. We know that now in this particular situation with the hybrid model, it's not the same as if you were in school. It's different learning. I think learning is very similar learning is going on. I think it's just going on differently, and we're realizing that there's a lot of positives in the way the learning is going on, but it doesn't fit with, in my opinion, the old valedictorian, salutatorian frame. And we have students who are very, very bright students who do very well in school, but unfortunately they can't take all those extra classes because their family situation says that they don't have the opportunity to enroll. They have to work after school. They have to watch younger siblings at the end of the day so mom and dad can work. It's just, to me, it's not a fair way of assessing students and their abilities.
I would say also that not only is it in every year it is unfair, but it's more than that in this case, because last year not only was the instruction and the learning very different, the grading was totally upside down, inside out, and valedictorian, salutatorian is based strictly on grades. So that piece, and we don't know where the grades will be this year, what's going to happen for the rest of the year, if we'll go remote, what's going to happen. So it seems as though our criteria are just not there, that have always been there. And I think that was another reason why all of us at the workshop felt that it really should not take place this year, because it's not accurate.
I think we do need to recognize, though, that previous conversations, we haven't really just talked about this year. We've talked about this as a general award, and what it incents and what it doesn't recognize, right? So I was looking at our board website and looking at the district goals and district vision, and we talk about the classroom being in the classroom, but also being on the field and on the court and in the art gallery, and valedictorian, Val-Sal doesn't measure things that are not in the classroom. It's a GPA award, right, really. And it sometimes disincents children from stretching in classes that they might have to stretch and learn new things, and it really incents them maybe to take classes that they're safe with, that they know that they're going to be able to achieve that high grade. And that's not something that I think we want to drive, or we want to really instill as being something that we think is positive. I think it's more productive for kids to stretch and take different things and do different things and be involved in different things than just focus on GPA. And I'm not taking anything away from a 4.0 student. I think that's incredible, but it's just one aspect of what we talk about. So when we recognize Val and Sal every year, what are we recognizing? What are we promoting? And what are we missing, right? So I think that's the larger concern we have beyond just this year. And I agree with everything you're saying. This year is a total anomaly, right? And last year was a total anomaly. So it's very difficult to reward. And I take your point. It's very difficult because, you know, a child learning from home in one environment, it has a completely different circumstance and environment than a child learning the same thing remotely in a different environment, right? It's very difficult to say, you know, this is achievement where this is not achievement. So I get that, but this is a larger issue, not just this year. I think we're talking about.
And I believe also in our statement that it says we educate the whole child.
Yeah.
This is only a part of the whole. Right. And to emphasize one part of the whole, in my opinion, is just not,
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
make sense to me.
So again, from my perspective, it's like I recognize the rationale behind what we're talking about. I support it, but I also support the stress on the system and not wanting to, you know, and don't take me the wrong way. I just don't, you know, I don't necessarily in my own life, I don't like abrupt things, right? I like planning, being planful about things. So, you know, I do want to do what's best for the district over the long term. I just, you know, I'm kind of open to different alternatives for how we phase this out, whether it's this year or, you know, sometime in the future. I think that's a conversation that I'm willing to have.
So I'll what's the word? Maybe not the right word. I'll just add to that because it has been a discussion, I think, for longer than definitely than even the last 2 years. And perhaps that's a mistake even on my part, not bringing it up earlier, other agenda items. As I think of it, numbers guy, right? Sorry, you're going to get the numbers. So if we have what, 500 seniors? 478. So if 1%, we're talking as if everybody's trying to get this, and I don't think that's the case, right? So 1%, is that 5 students who maybe 4 years ago set the goal for this? The abruptness to me would be, okay, do we do that to them? There's reasons, I've heard all the reasons, so you're not going to get disagreement with me. I'm introducing just another data point, if you will, right? That everything is different, especially about this year. It does present an opportunity in ways that we would not have anticipated. But what about those? Somebody who made that goal, you know, and to abruptly take that away from them. Yep, we do have the excuse. The grading, even at the end of last year, was essentially pass fail. So it's not GPA based. This year is much different. As been said, the resources and opportunities are different for each one. And so there's reasons. I can't counter those. I do want us to take into consideration for that very small number, you know, is it worth saying we will finish out the year? One of the options we will go, but we will, it's somewhat announcing, right, that we are looking to other things so that students are prepared. We're already 1/4 way through this year. So one term of grades have come out now, you know, for the 5 students. And I don't know that it's 1%, maybe it's 2%, maybe it's 10, but maybe it's only 3. Right. But for those students, this was an important thing. It was a goal. It's an objective, and the abruptness might cause that disappointment. It's also just 1% if you want to look at it strictly as numbers, right? So it's also very small.
And I would say the pandemic abruptly changed it and altered the validity
certainly
of it
did, yeah.
all. And but as for how many years ago, I actually was cleaning out papers and came across a document that Marilyn wrote up. So that goes back at least 3-4 years.
Yeah.
That asked the district to begin the plan to make a process. So we've discussed it and that came after long discussions. So it's been out there for quite some time, but I do think the pandemic has abruptly changed everything.
I think that's probably well, I know that's what brought it to the forefront for us. It's been a discussion on and off for a number of years, but it just makes the most sense to me right now. I think you will always have that 1%. You know, if we do it this year, you still have the 1% who are today juniors who might be aspiring to that. It's hard to say. I just would want to point out, though, that class ranking still exists. So as far as being able to put this on your college application that is done in the wintertime, before the Val sale is announced, you still have that distinction that you've earned personally for yourself, if that's been your priority, basically. But I do think removing the Val sale is more in keeping with our district goals and philosophies.
Erica? Oh, would you?
And everyone said pretty much what I was going to say, but I did want to point out that there are many other opportunities where probably the same exact students are going to be recognized for their achievement in certain classes. So from my perspective, I guess I think that there will be lots of ways they'll be honored and focused on. And like everybody said, this is probably the year.
Any other comments? I have learned from the beginning and generally support of no surprises, but it's 1/4 of the way through. If we're going to make that decision, I don't know that it should necessarily go much beyond tonight. That would be the surprise to you. It wasn't on here necessarily as a decision. I'm not trying to give you a heart attack, Mr. Provenzano, as the leader of the district, but I'm just going to open that up, right? Go ahead,
May
please.
I interject here? At our workshop, we did give Brett to the December workshop to be able to investigate this.
Oh, okay.
So we were coming back at the December workshop when he was going to have conversations with the stakeholders, and he was going to report back to us at our December workshop as to his findings regarding this topic.
Thank you. I missed that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is helpful. I'll coordinate with Mr. Clark and December 5th or. Yep,
Yes, first Monday in December, right?
we'll continue it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And then I don't remember why this is on here. Was this number G, 7G, COVID testing, emergency extended
I think
closures?
we've talked a lot about the testing piece. The one piece that I thought would be appropriate to just discuss is emergency or extended closures. We've talked about if we ever enter into another COVID situation where we're going to be out for a finite or an indefinite period of time like we were last spring. We know what that plan, we've talked about that plan, but the emergency closing and the extended closures will be communicating to families by the end of this week if there's the quote unquote snow day or emergency day where 1 or 2 days are missing, how we're going to proceed and how we're going to interact with our students, just following the same schedule. If you are a Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, you will assume your roles, but we'll be doing it online, or if it's not your day to be in class or online, you'll be doing the asynchronous working work that has been assigned to you as you're doing right now. We're just trying to keep it easy and simple for our students and staff. They're in a rhythm right now. Same thing for an extended closure. If we have to close a building or close for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we will follow the same schedule with some nuance that we'll be communicating with the greater community. We didn't talk a lot about that in the summer. We just were talking about if we are on another long hiatus as we were last spring. So that will be coming out very soon to the greater community, but you're not going to see much different except that it will be online. The Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Fridays, and Wednesdays, we're going to try to keep the rhythm and pace of those days.
Yeah, the weather a couple of days ago got me thinking about high winds, right? And there was certain neighborhoods that lost power. And I thought, well, that's interesting, right? What happens if there's a sporadic power outage within the community and we've got some teachers without power and other students with power, and how are we gonna there's all these different circumstances that I think we're not going to know till we get there, but I think that could be a complication if we don't have school and certain segment of our population is without power. It's going to be tricky.
I just want to make sure that you are aware that the Fairport electric grid is always up and running, and when it goes down, we get those houses right back on real quick. So it might be an hour
All right,
Just,
Well,
just,
we
just,
do have-
just plugging the Fairport Municipal.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
Just,
Hey, I'm always happy, but
So the way the state's defining attendance this year and giving us leeway within this pilot, the concept of asynchronous learning, not necessarily being online, but having assignments dictated by a staff member.
yeah, okay.
But at the same time, you're 100% correct. There is not a lot of wiggle room, but barely enough to get one day. If we needed to do two, then we would have to look into, some vacation days if we had to close down permanently for the day.
Other questions around that? Thank you. I totally blanked out on that. Okay, but otherwise plans are being developed, have been developed, or just need to be shared mostly.
And they've
for-
been developed in concert with our professional educators. Their imprint is definitely on this, along with the administrators planning, and it's just about communicating to the greater community.
Right. Okay. So that takes us to 8A, board comments, and then moving into executive sessions. Anyone would like to make comments?
if I may, Peter.
Mhm.
I just want to, with the testing that we've done for 2 days now, the amount of stress that our students and our parents and our teachers are under, and our paraprofessionals and all the people who work for the Fairport Central School District, it's a testament to what we are doing with a hybrid model, with the masking, with the distancing, with the limited athletics. The reason our numbers are low is because what we're doing is working. It's working. So, you don't say, okay, the number of automobile deaths have decreased since seatbelts. Well, seeing as that's decreased, let's stop putting seatbelts in cars. We don't do that. What we're doing is working. So I think we should continue going forward with what we're doing, because it's definitely showing by the testing, by all the comments being made by the medical professionals and the elected officials, that the schools are the safest places right now. They're the best place for our kids right now, because what we're doing is working. And that is a global effort by all involved. All the adults in the building, all the children in the buildings, as well as all the adults and children, everybody outside the buildings who are just reinforcing this.
Other comments?
Brett, I know that you're in contact with county medical professionals almost daily, or if not daily. From a county perspective, I believe it was 4.6% was the positive rate at one point. If we got to 5%, that would slip into orange. I mean, how often do you get metrics on how the county's doing
Daily,
daily? So where are we at today?
we were still in the 4.6, 4.7
Okay,
range.
all right, so we're
But
dangerously close. To-
like the previous days, I don't get
Right.
the days.
I got you. Yep.
Yep.
No, what I thought I read over the weekend though is even if we do tip 5%, there is still some discretion.
7-day rolling average. And I think that's what this experiment was about with testing. The way we're gathering it is our rates are significantly lower than communities, right? And I think it's speaking to the fact, to the governor's credit, actually, to show that masking, distancing, the protocols work, the taking and decluttering, if you will, the buildings. And it's a strategy that's viable, and it's producing results as per our numbers.
Yeah. I will just say my daughter teaches kindergarten in Utah, and their positive rate is out of control, and they're about ready to go virtual, and they've done a 2-week moratorium on everything in the community. They're not even supposed to hang out with people in other houses, right? They're pretty much locked down. So, I think there's some debate, whether masking or 6 feet or 3 feet or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, it's like we are where we're at because of what we've done. And I think that, I do have family members that live in other parts of the country, and they're not doing so well. And I think that's pretty much factual. So.
And I guess I would just add one more thing, which is, so I talk to people all the time who are just tired of all of this, who are tired of not being able to do fun things, tired of not being able to go to fun places. And what I try to remind people, and what I think we need to remember as an institution, is all of the things that we are learning, that kids, even though they have to learn different and manage things differently, are learning things through technology that are actually really useful in their future lives, and which they would never have been exposed to in our traditional classroom. And teachers are doing things differently through technology, and they will never fully revert to the ways that they used to teach. So everyone that I speak to, I hear how this has taught us things, and how, like, I think in some ways the bar is so low. I am going to be so excited to see my siblings. And while I love them, I don't know that I have ever been that excited before. I think next year there are going to be so many really exciting moments as we get back some of the freedoms that we've lost this year. I just think there's a lot of good stuff ahead. That's it.
Not just it. Thank you for the optimism. Okay, thank you, everyone. Then we will I'll take a motion to enter into executive session. Joyce, and second by Marty. Before voting, just let people know, I don't believe we have any intention of coming out and making decisions. So when we reconvene into open session, we will also then immediately follow with an adjournment. And so this will end the broadcast. We won't rebroadcast even the final just vote of adjourning. Then, so all in favor? Any opposed? Nope, 7-0. Thank you, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving and good night.